you will need your block, which is hopefully mostly carved. It doesn't have to be fully carved. Like, you might not have made all your decisions. You might be like, oh, I kind of want to put words in here or whatever. You can do a print, or proof. The first print you take is a proof, and it tells you whether or not you're done carving your block. So you need your block. You will need your paints. You were all given some tempera paint at the beginning of class. If you do want to print on fabric, you could use acrylic paint. I wouldn't mix my own. I'd get some store-bought. You can use house paint even. But to start, this is probably the safest way to go. We already watched the video about wetting your paper. So over here I have the paper that Miss Ridgway gave me. This is where I put my paper. It's wet, and I want to keep it wet until I'm ready to use it. So it's wrapped up inside there. You will also need a rag, because printmakers are fastidiously clean. You need a very clean, flat surface. And if you have any of these little carved out things, these can be horrible during printmaking. They get on your brayer, on your inking plate, and even, in your design. So make sure those are in the garbage. You're going to need inking plates. This is what you're going to roll your ink out on. Anything smooth, a dinner plate works really well. This plastic plate works well. The nibs and the name that stand up there on the back, not on the front, so I'm going to use this part. Or one of these lids if it doesn't have too much texture to it. This can be your inking plate. And you will need a brayer. This is the one I gave you, and it's awesome. This is the kind of brayer that is traditionally used with printmaking. You're also going to want a spoon or something smooth to barons with, to do your burnishing, polishing your paper into your ink. A baron is a traditional word for this tool. Most people use a spoon. There's a lot of things you can use. And you'll want some tools for cleaning, so I'll tell you a little bit about that. When it comes time to clean, if you're using acrylic paint or house paint, you will want to clean up right away after you're done printing like 2 or 3 prints. Wash your block and wash your brayer. If you are using tempera paint, you can leave your paint in there forever. Wash it out next year if you want. Probably about 2 tablespoons of tempera paint. And I can actually use, don't forget tempera paint dries fast, so put the lid on it. I can actually use my brayer to clean off that popsicle stick, which palette knife. And then I'm gonna roll this on here. Now if I just roll back and forth like this, I only get ink on half my brayer. So I do what's called the cat's paw. I pull back, pick up, pull back again, pick up. That way I'm starting where I left off every time, and I'll get an even layer of paint all around my brayer. And an even layer of paint on your brayer will be an even layer of paint on your block. All right, so when that looks even and this looks even, it's time to put it on your block. I like to put the block on a piece of newspaper or paper towel or something, because when I put the ink on, it's likely I will go off the edges. And I don't want to get it on my table, because I want to keep my table clean and smooth for the printmaking part. So I'm putting the brayer, I'm rolling the ink on, trying to get it on there evenly. If you start to see it come off with your brayer marks, then you're overworking it. Don't press very hard, just lightly put it on there till it all looks nice and even. Okay? Now, it's your paper, and make sure your fingers are clean, because the brayering and mixing can make your fingers dirty, and if your fingers are dirty, you'll get your paper dirty. Also, carefully take the paper towel out from underneath here so that this is clean, because I'm going to press the paper down on it, and if the paper touches dirty paper towel, our print paper will get dirty. So, let's see, that's black. This one will show my color nicely. Seal that back up so it doesn't dry out. Alright, so I'm going to bend this because I'm making it like a card. And if I were doing a, if I were doing a horizontal design, this would be the front and it would open like this. It's important to know where the front is. This is a vertical design, so if I could make either side the front, and I have to keep track of the seam where it's folded, that's the top. That way the card will be upside right. If I put the top down here, then the card will be upside down. Alright, so now that I know where the center of my card is, where I want my print to go on the paper, I've got to keep real good tabs, looking at this, looking at this, looking at this, looking at this. Same down here, looking at this, looking at this. I want to keep them parallel. So this is called registration, and there are actually a lot of ways you can put tape on your table or create a drop-in box, a slot for your block so that it always goes in the same relationship with your paper. But I'm just going to ask you to be careful because this block fits real tight on here. So I'm looking at the top, looking at the bottom. I've got my fingers on the table, looking at the top, looking at the bottom, making sure they're parallel, top, bottom, top, bottom, top, bottom, top, bottom. And as soon as it touches, I can't move. This paper cannot move. I can move. The paper can't move. It has touched the block. That means there's already paint transferring onto my paper. So I would rather have a clean print that is slightly cockeyed or a little high or low than a mushy, smudgy print because you tried to move it around. So I'm going to open this up, and we can see through this paper. This is nice. This light color with the dark ink, I can see right through it. It's already transferring really nicely. You use the smooth part of the spoon, make sure it's clean, and just rub on the paper a little bit. Now the paper is damp, so it might rip. I have to be very careful not to rub so hard that I rip my paper. And if you rip one, then you know, okay, that was too hard. Modify your pressure. Don't rub too hard. And I'm just going to rub all around here, try to hold it, make sure it doesn't move until all of that comes off. And it looks like I'm just a little cockeyed, which I think has to do with my fold. Might be better to put it on here when it's not folded, but then it's harder to tell which side it's going to be facing. Then you might make a mistake and put it upside down. If you get a wrinkle in it, that might rip your paper. So push the wrinkles out with your thumb or your finger. Push the wrinkles out. And again, burnish a little bit. I could pull this up to see how it's doing. It looks like it's doing really good. So we'll go ahead and pull the print. And there we go. So now that I see it printed and I know how it's going to work, I can make decisions and go in and cut some more. So that would make this a proof. I'm just checking. So printmakers label their works, and this one goes, usually it's down here on the bottom, but this one goes all the way to the bottom. So I'm probably going to have to find somewhere else to label it. Maybe I could label it in here. We'll just say proof. Okay, cleaning is not that hard, but you do want to be careful. You do not want to use scrubby, scratchy things. Not on your inking tray and not on your block. And probably not on your brayer either, though. It's soft. I like to use a brush. This brush is too hard. This brush is for, listen, that's for like scrubbing pans. That will ruin my block. I'll scrub it all up. I want something soft. So I keep these toothbrushes under my sink for cleaning things, and even these toothbrushes, this one's firm and this one's soft. I'm going to use a soft one. I can use a nail brush. This one's really hard. Don't use that one. This one's nice and soft. I could use that one. Once you found a nice soft brush, and you don't need a brush, you could just, rub it a little bit. Just be careful. The brush is nice because it gets down in the cracks, and if you go with the grain of your cutting, it does a real nice job of cleaning that ink out, that paint out right away. Yeah, there is a difference between paint and ink. We're using tempera paint. Usually printmaking ink, it has an oil in it it's more viscous. Okay, so this is, if I want to use this again right away, I need to dry it off. I can't print it while it's soaking wet. I don't want to scrub this, but I do want a rag that does have some nubbies on it, so like a terry cloth rag, and I can just put this in here, set it on the nubbies, and kind of pat it. I'm blotting it. Don't scrub it around because you'll tear off the little pieces of rubber. Just blot it on there. My back is really smooth. I don't have a carving design on that, so I can rub that. And check your sides, because you could get, if you go over the edges and you still have paint on the sides, it'll print. And this is dry enough. I can ink it again and try it again. This is really easy to clean because it's just a sponge. And this part comes off. Make sure there's no paint left on that. And squeeze your sponge out until the water comes out clean. If color is coming out of your sponge now, it's going to come out in your next print. So if you're printing in the same color, it doesn't matter. But if you are, you know, if I went to yellow right now, it would turn really muddy with all the black that's still in my brayer. And I've noticed throughout the day I've been printing in different colors. Some of the colors kind of stain the brayer. If they're not coming out in your hand, then it's not going to come out in the print. You're good. Okay, and again, like I said, keep your inking plate smooth.